Perfect.
What the hell is Sauce Sports or whatever that last call was talking about? What the hell is that?
Guys are from Free Love, man.
What's the motherfucking deal? Welcome. And first, let me apologize for the delay. I often overlook the minor details sometimes when I'm doing things differently. So I apologize for anybody who may have been waiting. But welcome to Sauce Sports TV. If you're not familiar with Sauce Sports TV is a Houston homer network. We're talking all sports, but only Houston. But on this channel, we're talking everything except the Texans. Any and everything. I'd rather talk about Little League, T-ball, or some shit like that, than the Texans on this channel. So if you start talking Texans, I will completely ignore you. But we got a gentleman from the round getting down with us today, Mr. Sauce Sports TV himself. Who do we have joining us this evening?
You got your boy Hector Flores and Asmo. I like my room cold. That's why the fan is spinning fast.
Fan hater. Shame. Let's see who we got joining us, man. Let's get into some good conversation. I'm glad y'all could join us this evening. Like I said, a lot to talk about. We're going to talk a little MLB. We're going to talk a little bit of MLS, and we're going to talk about this list, man. This, it's particular for, I don't know, for
honestly, Honcho, man, when you told me about the list, I literally thought that I don't know why I thought it was modern players, because obviously that number would still be really off-putting for Giannis and James Harden. Yeah. I mean, mind you, I'd rather pick Harden over Giannis, but I mean, when I saw the 30-something number, I thought that was all just within the modern players. But then it makes more sense all-time wise. But still, I still wouldn't jump over. I wouldn't have Giannis over James Harden.
In no way, no form or fashion. I can't I can't find any unless you're talking about a dunk contest. There's no way you take Giannis over.
Can you even make an argument? I mean, can you really? It'll be like a close one if it's just a dunk contest.
Yeah, I mean, you are right there. Oh shit. Like we'll get to the 4-letter networks. We'll get to all that. Let's see who we got joining us, and then we'll talk about everything that's what's going on in the city. I mean, just sports wise, man. Footballer 503, what's the motherfucking deal? Hector holding down the chat and the stream. Houston, Texas Hawk, what's the motherfucking deal? Go DJ, what's the motherfucking deal? Football, you already got shout outs. Two shout outs is nice, I guess. Lorenzo Wilson, what's the motherfucking deal? Yeah, man. I think part of the reason why we're a little empty today, and this is on me, is we have to, get more regular with the Salt Sports TV schedule. So, like I said, I'm lined up. So I think, like I say, every day this week and for the foreseeable future, we should be sticking to the Sauce time schedule on both channels, which is 6 p.m. I'm working on a couple things to just kind of streamline my process, make it a little bit easier as far as getting thumbs and stuff done. So I think once we kind of when people say, okay, well, they actually do show up to Sauce Sports TV, then I think more people will come. What's to say? If you build it, they will come. You hold me to that? Don't hold me to anything, Asmel. Just don't do it. Like, let's hope for the best. But
baby steps, man. Baby steps. You gotta crawl before you can walk.
Straight up, man. So actually, let's. I'm gonna leave it up to you. Would you rather talk Dynamo? Or would you rather talk Astro? Which would you prefer?
I said let's just get the Dynamo out of the way. I'm sure everybody wants to hear the Dynamo news.
Yes, Dynamo. Watch the Dynamo first and foremost. Man, if you're not watching the Dynamo, well, then it is what it is, because nobody's watching the Dynamo right now because we cannot watch the Dynamo. So let's see. There are, some rumblings, some murmurs and rumblings of some possible rumors. Not, I don't think they've been verified by any MLS officials, but that they're proposing a way to continue the MLS season by going to Disney World, essentially, in Orlando, and using the ESPN's facilities to continue the game. What are your thoughts on that? Do you think this is just a rumor? Do you think this is a legit possibility? And what are your pros and cons of a situation like that?
I think, man, I feel like I feel like every sport, at least every league, has already mentioned, let's go to Florida. I think NBA, we heard Disney World as well. And then obviously baseball was even talking about using the spring training facilities in Florida. So it's just kind of, I think this is like, we all have to hit this, like, at least let's reach this area at one point. But I mean, it's, I guess it makes sense. You want to put them in a more central area, but I think the argument is also, do you really want to get all these people into this one location? And essentially, you're quarantining them from their families because you're going to keep them in this one area. And so I don't think it's going to work well. But I think the MLS is in a really unique situation, and it's something that a lot of people have been complaining about with the MLS, and that is to finally line their schedule up with the rest of the world when it comes to their schedule. Because, I mean, so the MLS is, I mean, everyone has like different ways, but most of the time it's usually their leagues start in like late August and early September in Europe. So this is like this one opportunity that the MLS can really fall into that schedule and maybe stop looking at that they're trying to compete with the NFL and the NBA and the MLB, because to be honest, they're not going to be competing with them at least anytime soon. And I mean, the argument is that you're the at least people that are worried about it is like, oh, if we don't have to worry about an NFL game, then they can at least try to go to a MLS game. But I think if you're a hardcore NFL fan, I don't think you're ever going to be planning on going to an MLS game. And I mean, you can make the same argument for someone that's a hardcore MLS and soccer fan. I don't think you'll see them at a football game either. But I think this is more of an opportunity for them to be more aligned with what FIFA's doing, because my issue with MLS with their scheduling is that they ignore the international friendly schedule. They ignore the clear obvious issue, which is when they try to bring in players from Europe, their season starts obviously like in March, and so these guys are like in mid-season in January. So you're bringing them in. So, and then you're kind of cooling them off for a period of time, and they don't really have time to like really build chemistry with their teammates. So it makes more sense to build that initial transfer period in the summer where they can go into training with their new teammates, build some chemistry in there, and then start the season right there off of in August. To me, that makes sense, but you just never know at this point.
And that's actually very interesting. That's something I guess, well, I've never thought about it because I guess I've never been concerned with it because I never knew it even was a thing, that the MLS schedule was so off from the rest of the world. And you're absolutely right. Anybody who is, whatever you like or you love, you're going to find a way to watch it. If you love soccer and football, you're going to find a way to watch both games. You're going to catch up. I mean, it is going to happen one way or another. I mean, if you really want it, you get it. But, yeah, I don't think there's any real competition with the NFL anywhere. It doesn't matter what sport you're talking about, unfortunately, but it is what it is. And then it was also very interesting what you mentioned about, like, the guys coming from overseas and, being able to gel. That's something I never thought. That's something we may have to dive into. Had jotted that down in my notes. Something maybe we have to dive into later on. Okay, so the MLS is, like I say, using the kind of facility thing, the Florida thing. But why do you, and I know everybody loves Disney World, but why don't you think people are being rational? Because, like, Florida just opened up the beaches and then, like, had to close them down, like, a week later or so. Florida, in my opinion, is a terrible place. It's highly overrated. I think there's some good people out there in Florida. I think the beaches are very nice. I can understand why somebody would want to go to the beach. But Florida man. I mean, we've all heard the stories of a Florida man. There's a Florida man did that. Florida man is everywhere, and that's a real thing. Like, Florida is a different kind of special place. But
yeah, the bath salts guy.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's just they talk about some of these other states, but it's Florida. When you hear a story come out of Florida, it's either terrible. I mean, like one of the worst things you've ever heard in your life, or it's one of the most ridiculous things that you ever heard in your life. But my thing is, like I said, I don't know. Would everybody seem like to want to go there? I don't know. Again, we don't know the science.
I mean, can we just state the obvious of why Florida?
Well, what do you think?
Or like why specifically Disney World?
Oh well,
I mean, what does what does Mickey Mouse own? He owns ESPN.
Yeah. Exactly. I guess it makes it convenient though, and that's the thing. So. You bring guys in, you're local, everything that you need is right there in your face. I mean, you got your cameras, you got everything. It's like nobody has to really, I won't say nobody has to really make an effort. You still got to put in the work, but it just seems, I guess, logistically convenient for everybody involved, for getting it on TV, for the guys who are playing. What do you think it's going to be like to see, if it goes on, to see soccer games with no fans? Because it seems to me, and I know MLS is a little bit different, but what I've seen from some of the overseas teams, from some of the international stuff, and I know it's a deeper passion for the game there, and I think they're doing some similar stuff overseas. Am I right? Like I think Germany or somebody like that.
Yeah. So the Bundesliga will actually be I guess continuing their season this weekend. So at least I know what I'm doing this weekend. But. I think it's gonna be really telling to see what happens with the Bundesliga. I think for sure if they see what they're doing and if it works for them, then I think maybe you'll see more leagues do so. But I mean, currently in France, the French league, France just initially just ended the leagues. So congratulations, Paris Saint-Germain, for winning the French league. So, but I mean. I think it's just going to be kind of one of those wait and see kind of things. I mean, you see what's going on in the Korean baseball league. They're doing their games where it's like, there's no fans at the stadium. You saw the cardboard fans and all of that. So I mean, you're seeing people coming up with ways, and we'll just see how it goes. But I think as far as in a soccer type atmosphere, we'll definitely see what happens with Germany. And I think once we see what Germany is doing, I think some leagues will start following.
Just seems like it'd be extremely odd. It seems like soccer fans are the most passionate fans, and games with no fans, it just seems really odd. But then I heard somebody in South Korea that they were still, I think, catching some cases. Some of the players were still getting sick or something. That may be wrong.
Yeah, so there was some players from a German team that was actually diagnosed positive for that. But I don't know. I haven't really heard anything. I haven't heard anything. They say they're still going forward. So
Yeah. Okay. Um, I don't know. I guess, like I say, it's a whole odd thing to me. But let's kind of look at another league going through a very similar situation. But we've kind of heard some things. Oh no, I'm sorry. Before we jump off MLS, in association with this thing, in addition to that, I think which is a very big thing to talk about. Apparently, the MLS Players Union and I guess the MLS itself are negotiating. The MLS wants the players to take a 20% pay cut to play this season because I guess they were saying that their revenue is based mainly on I guess game attendance. You got any thoughts on that?
I mean, obviously people are losing money in general, and I mean, once we'll talk about the MLB. Even they're losing money as well. But I think we'll start. Well, I mean, I don't know, man. We'll see what happens. I don't think attendance is really the major issue. I mean, unless you're talking about Atlanta or LAFC or the LA Galaxy, who tend to have really good consistent attendances, and even I don't know why I didn't mention Seattle, but Seattle as well, and that's Central League Field that they're filling up. But I mean, I can see them being affected by it because obviously they do have fairly good attendance. But when you talk about teams like FC Dallas, the Houston Dynamo, Chicago Fire, those teams don't necessarily draw very well as far as attendance goes. But that's like plethora of issues in its own way. But I think if they're just saying attendance as a logical reason, I don't think that that's the correct term because I think MLS does have issues with attendance. But I think they're definitely going to take a big hit as far as TV goes.
All right, so like you mentioned, let's kind of talk about the MLB a little bit. And the MLB has a similar situation going on. I know earlier on they were mentioning Arizona or something like that. I forgot where they said. And I think they changed location. They might still be there. I'm not sure. But it's kind of a situation where what I read was that some of the players were maybe not so keen on that because they felt like, well, of course the owners are ready to play. Of course the guys who don't have to, get in the mix with anybody are ready to get, guys out there making money for them. They don't want nobody wants to lose any money. But what do you think is going to happen? Because I know that it seems like from like I say, a casual, very, 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 very casual baseball fan, that of all the leagues, it seems like baseball players have the most power when it comes to negotiations. And so do you think if there are players who are upset with this that they go on? Do you think there's a holdout? Do you think the league does what's in the best interest of the players, or are they going for the money?
I mean, like I was saying with earlier, I think with the MLB they have more of a legitimate argument with attendance because obviously attendance is really big for a lot of these major league teams. I mean, you could talk about the Astros who normally average around 30,000 a game, and so. I mean, for them, they'll definitely take a hit, especially when they lose fans. So that's where they're kind of looking at towards why they're taking a cut on their paychecks. But the thing that's unique is when you look at the NFL and the NBA, they're doing the same thing with the 50-50 as far as what their wages go. But the thing that's different compared to the MLB and NBA and NFL is that the MLB doesn't have a salary cap. And so, that's obviously the thing that makes it a little bit different in its own way. But I definitely want to see what happens there. I think the players, to be honest, I don't think they like the idea of losing money. But I think, they also want to play. But at the same time, it's like, what is it going to be like playing without fans? And I think that's the other thing.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's crazy. I don't know, man. I guess you go out and you play the same way you played when you were kids, maybe if you still have that love of the game. But I think as you get older, how many of these guys are actually playing for the love of the game? How many guys are still playing for the love of the money? Who's chasing the championship or whatever it may be. But I guess you kind of got to go back to that mentality, like when you I guess first started playing the game, when you used to play in the parks or whatever it may be, and just play for the love of it. But the thing about that, I'm looking like the NBA, if they were to do something like that. Say you got guys out there balling, they talking trash. It's gonna be almost like a street game. It feels like. if the NBA wasn't so fucking soft, it would work. I think it would be actually good if you just let them, play. But what's going to happen is guys will get out there. They're going to talk shit. It's going to be a bit more audible. You'll be able to hear it better. More text getting called. Like if they're going to try to stick to the script that they normally do, and I think it's going to be kind of bullshit. I won't say it's going to ruin the game or anything, but I think that there will be some very questionable shit going on if they go that route. So my thoughts.
I think so far from like seeing any like sort of live sport, I'm not gonna sit here and tell you I actually watch wrestling or anything like that, but I saw like clips of like WWE matches and obviously with no fans, and it's like you hear their bodies hitting the mat and you hear them doing their grunts and like the ones that obviously when they're like pretending to be in pain and all that. I mean they're not pretending, but obviously like but I mean, so like I see that, I just think it sounds so awkward, like just seeing that, and I can just imagine just an NBA game, and all you hear is the squeaker, the squeaking of the sneakers with the court, and then you obviously like ball, like just hearing that, and I just feel like it's gonna be a very, very awkward. At least initially, it's gonna be awkward. I think once I'm sure a lot of people are just gonna be happy that like sports is just back in general, but I guess we'll see.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be very odd too. So let's talk about something. I think something that even though we can't all be perfect. You may be a Lakers fan, but I think something that we could both agree on. Like I say, I think it was a top 74 of all time list, if I'm not mistaken. I thought it was top 100 at first. I think it's top 74, and the 4-letter network polled, I guess, some employees or writers, whatever, and they came up with this list. And I don't know if this is the proper term. Let's see. It's like it's like they have some, I don't want to say recency bias is a word, or however you want to call it, but it's like the list is flawed. I mean, that's the only way to put it. Again, like you mentioned earlier, whether you're talking about, a modern list or whether you're talking about an all-time list, it's flawed to have James Harden in the 32nd position. What's even more flawed is to have Giannis.
I personally just think, like, I mean, we obviously we have now an idea of what's it like making these all-time lists, or at least I do now. But with these all-time lists, obviously it's really opinion based. You can, because I mean, like, there's probably gonna be those guys that do it strictly off of stats, which, okay, that's cool, man. And then there's people that are gonna do it off of nostalgia. There's gonna be people that do the eye test, but at the end of it all, it's all opinion based. But if you and me and Spitz and Wink and Wise and I'll even throw Tinny in there. Yeah. I think if we all sat here and made a list of players, I don't think a single one of us would put Giannis over James Harden.
No. I don't think anybody in their right mind would, but unfortunately, obviously, certain people who work for certain 4-letter networks aren't in their right mind. And I don't get it. I don't understand why the bias for James Harden is so great. And then even some of the other Rockets that were on there, I felt like could have been a slight. Again, I'd have to pull up the whole list, but to not have Hakeem Olajuwon in your top 10 to me is it's insulting. And
I think to throw that into it, I wonder who's getting asked these questions, because I feel like a lot of, at least the. I don't, not to be disrespectful, but the old heads would definitely be. And I would at least imagine Hakeem the Dream would be at least in the top 5.
Yes.
At least for the older generation crowd. But I mean, I just that's another one that's a head scratcher to me. I mean, I think Hakeem is a legend in his own right. Especially in a time when it was all about having that center, and he just did it so well. And I mean, come on, everyone does the sky hook. That's just kind of like baffles me to be like that. Real talk, you are not an old head. Um, but that's what I'm kind of going with this. It's just that I feel like it's either these are just like super young people that maybe just never watched Hakeem Olajuwon, and they're just like, which I wouldn't even say you could do things stat based, because you can't look. You look at the stats of Hakeem Olajuwon, and they were still pretty solid.
Yeah.
And so it's definitely a very big head scratcher if you don't have at least Hakeem at least in the top 10. I can forgive them not having him in the top 5, but top 10, that's another thing as well. But I mean, Hakeem deserves to be up top. But then you should have already known from the beginning where this list was going to when you had James below Giannis Antetokounmpo.
Yeah, exactly. Again, we talk about it often. People say, "Oh, you're just talking crazy. You're just saying stuff because you're from the city or whatever it may be." It's a point where it has to be obvious. Because talking about Giannis himself, it's like the guy has a very limited skill set, but he's good with the skill set that he does possess. Give him that.
But the other thing though is if you're gonna sit here and make an all-time list, you're literally looking at the body work of James, and you're gonna sit there and look at each other's body of work, and you're gonna sit and tell me that you're gonna look at Giannis and be like, yeah, that guy's better. Yeah. Even though like James' career has been very solid, even going back to his OKC years, exactly. and you're gonna sit here and tell me that his body of work is subpar to Giannis. I mean, Giannis just started getting into a very relevant team, so I just can't see it, man. Like, I mean, I'm not gonna sit here and tell you that he's a bad player, because I do think he's good in his own style, but yeah, I just can't see how you put Giannis over. I'm still baffled by that.
Yeah, like I say, and then again, like I said, I have to go look to see who the 4 or 5 guys in between are, but it's. Again, like I say, it's what have you done for me lately? And even if you want to go by those principles, it should still be James Harden. You're talking about a guy who's been in the conversation, 3 or 4 years. 3 or 4 times that this guy, he should have 3 definitely MVP trophies. But then people use the same excuse for him that they had for LeBron. What is it? Not voters. It's fucking not exhaustion. What's the goddamn word? I can't think of shit. But basically, they become jaded with voting. They become bored. They're tired of voting. Like, that's the stupidest shit I've ever heard in my life. Like, for someone to use that as like a legitimate reason. Well, this is why I didn't do it, because I'm just tired of voting for the guy. It's stupid. So the guy, he puts in work, he trains, he gets better, he does whatever he has to do, he's relevant, he's in competition every year, and it's going to apply to LeBron James too, because it's happened to him.
Hey man, I'll even throw another thing, man. This guy's balling after coming out of the strip club, so I mean, like,
it's tipping the hose, you know what I'm saying, and dropping threes on that ass, and y'all are mad. This guy's I won't say multitasking, but he's very prolific.
I mean, I feel like it's like. Usually in the NBA season, at least once a week, there's a James Harden highlight.
Yeah,
like the man, I have a James Harden T-shirt of him doing that nasty step back to what was it, Wesley Johnson or
yeah, I think Wesley Johnson.
Yeah, I have that. I have a shirt of him doing that like just that picture of him doing the step back to him. I mean, like, he has like all these highlights. I mean. I can't name one Giannis highlight. Yeah. I mean, it's probably going to be a dunk.
It's absolutely a dunk. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is either, but it's absolutely a dunk.
You know what? I'd even throw Luka Doncic over Giannis Antetokounmpo at this point.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, to me, Giannis is overrated. But again, we like the show, we like the flash, and James will give you a dunk every now and then, and he'll I mean, he's gonna definitely get you. He'll probably get you in more highlights of embarrassing somebody or however you want to call it, but. People, I don't like his game. It's boring. It's like, to me, I think it's unique. I think it's a change of pace. I like when someone comes in and disrupts everything, and find a way to stop it. And if you can't find a way to stop it, then you have to deal with it. And if you ask, who was it? It was a player just the other day that just said that James Harden was the hardest to guard. God damn it. And it was somebody that they thought didn't really like James. I forgot who it was, and it actually caught me by surprise when he said it. It was actually about a month ago, so I'm not gonna sit here and say like yesterday. But yeah, I like Luka. And Luka and James have very similar games, in my opinion, also. But you know, it is what it is. So that's why I can't hate on Luka and say, "Oh, I love James Harden, don't like Luka Doncic." So you know, it kind of is what it is. But yeah, I just think like if Giannis did develop a shot, he could be probably one of the greatest of all. I just think he's overrated. I think Jason Tatum. Yeah, that's what. Well, shout out to Unbeaten Sports, man. Appreciate the love. And so you know, my thing is just like to have him right now, like you said, at where they are in their respective careers. It's not even close. And the fact that you have this man 5 spots ahead of James Harden, it's ridiculous. I mean, just look at what they've done for their respective teams.
In an all-time list of all things, an all-time list.
Yeah,
like, I'm still not gonna say that I'll give him some leeway if it was just a modern NBA player list, because I'd still find that ridiculous. But I mean, if you're talking about like right now, and even if we're talking about right now, I'd probably still put James Harden over Giannis. It just baffles me. Like, Giannis shouldn't even be in the 30s. He should be in the higher part of at the end, almost near the end of this, because he's still young. His career is still he's still ahead of his whole career. So I just don't see how you can even put Giannis that deep into an all-time list like that. Like, you're telling me that there's other players that from the past that he surpassed already?
Yeah, no way. Like I said, and that's what I'm wondering. Like, how much of the people who did this poll have the 19? How many of these people are suffering from symptoms? Because they obviously had to be sick to sit here and think that you can legitimately like put this list. And again, I'm sure that. It's not like they were sitting in a room and it's all come together and figured. I'm sure everybody's at their respective locations. I'm hoping that they didn't, collaborate with each other. I hope this was, a genuine list. And I don't know how they graded or scored, whatever. But it's just, it really is hard for me to understand that, that these people could all come together and be on the same accord. But then I wonder, like I say, because we talk about the media, and once you hear people say stuff enough, it seems real. Like, because the narrative about James Harden being a terrible defensive player still, it rings throughout. Anybody here talking about James, they're going to talk about that. But the thing is, his defensive game has stepped up significantly over the past couple of years. But everybody fails to mention that. As far as steals, as far as actually getting blocks in game, making key blocks, like nobody talks about this, but. They're quick to look for a chance to say, oh, he traveled, or or he's just jacking up threes, or whatever you want to call it. Like I say, the hate for the guy is real. And I think probably the only person who probably does get a little bit more hate, but not, I think, in the same fashion. I think his hate comes more from the fans, would be LeBron. And for some of the stuff he does, I can't blame people. Like, I like LeBron, the player, but there are some things he just, he can be a little, sometimes. But shout out to LeBron.
You don't like his Taco Tuesday posts?
I'm going to go out and say that I'm not a fan of the Taco Tuesday posts. I am a fan of Taco Tuesday, but Taco Tuesday posts.
I just find obviously I'm a Lakers fan, but I just find it amusing that like LeBron James is sitting here acting as if he invented Taco Tuesday.
Yeah, that's the crazy. That's what I'm saying. That's what kind of guy he is. That's how you know he's a bad guy. Just going to come in and try to take credit for something that has existed since the dawn of time. But okay. Like I said, it's just it's an odd thing. And there was something else I wanted to mention and I forgot, and it slipped my mind. I hate when that happens. I know I got a terrible memory. But how about the list though? But what I was surprised about the list is that there were a significant number of players who, I won't say they spent their entire careers with the Rockets, but at one point in time, donned a Rockets jersey. And just a couple of other notables on the list that I thought, and it kind of baffled me, was Tracy McGrady at number 52. And again, like McGrady's been kind of shady towards the Rockets.
Man, that's one of the greatest pitchers that the Sugarland Skeeters ever had.
Just fucking forgot he did this shit. But to be, I don't know, maybe, again, it could be the Houston bias, but it just seems like McGrady should be a little bit higher up on the list. You know, they actually have McGrady.
I mean, if you were to ask Spitz right now, or if you told Spitz where he was, he'd probably be flipping out because obviously that's his guy.
Yeah, he would definitely not be too keen on that. But you know, the fact that Clyde is actually under. It's actually under T-Mac was kind of strange to me. Again, like I said, I guess you think about, what they did for the team as a Rockets fan. Clyde was there for a ring, but then, T-Mac it never quite formed. Like everything was there for it to happen.
Yeah, the 22-game winning streak.
Yeah, that was nice until it came to an end. But it was just like what could have been is kind of what you feel with that T-Mac era. It's like what could have been if Yao stays upright, the Rockets stay healthy. Like, what could they really have done? But unfortunately, it is what it is, and Yao is selling communist wine in the United States, and I'm sure people are buying it and drinking it. But you mentioned something earlier that you thought was pretty interesting with Westbrook at number 42. What are your thoughts on that?
Honestly, man, because what was Giannis at, like 37 or something like that?
Giannis was 27. James was 32, and 42 was Westbrook.
I just don't know how I feel about that. I would definitely put Westbrook over Giannis and James Harden personally, but that's also because I'm biased towards Russell Westbrook because he is one of my favorite players to watch. But yeah, I mean the man averaged a triple-double. Like there's no that's not like if you're a stats person, you can't argue. The man literally went a whole season and averaged a triple-double.
Yeah, didn't do it twice. What did Russell do it twice?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy, man. Like that's what I'm saying. Like that's the crazy stuff about it. Like I don't know, man. But again,
I mean, he's doing stuff that you do on 2K on like beginner.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, this guy, he's what he's done, and again, everybody knows I'm not a big Russell Westbrook fan. It is what it is. But you got to, give a person credit for whatever they did, even if they may have been, stuff in the stat sheet, it's whatever. It's still commendable because you have to put in a lot of work to accomplish that feat. And
then once again, going back to the argument with Giannis is you look at what Russell Westbrook's work, like his resume. You look at his resume. You look at Giannis's resume. Like, how do you just look at it and be like, oh, yeah, Giannis is clearly the better player?
Correct. Like, I can't. That's unfathomable. I'd probably take Russell Westbrook in a one-on-one with Giannis 9 times a game. I mean, other than being able to dunk, I mean, what does Giannis have over Westbrook? I mean, Westbrook's a very athletic gentleman himself. He's just shorter. I mean, so what is?
And Russ can dunk too.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So it's like,
I feel like you can't even make an argument anymore. Like, well, the guy can dunk. So does the rest of the league.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, cool.
Shoot,
okay.
I've seen Steph Curry dunk a basketball. Like, I saw Sean Livingston dunk a basketball. I don't know why he dunked a basketball. I thought his knees were going to collapse, but Sean Livingston dunked a basketball.
I've seen Steph make some very fragile attempts at dunking. I don't think I've ever seen. I'm sure he's done it. I don't think I've ever seen it personally.
It was like a really light dunk. It wasn't it was like clearly there was nobody on him. He just.
Oh well, he's got those limp wrists, so he's kind of feminine in the wrist area. So you can't come down with too much authority. Obviously, then the wrist breaks. But yeah, I don't know. And again, like I say, it comes down to it, and H-Town perspective, H-Town bias. I'm going to always preach that because I feel like it's real. But at the same time, this is why you got the sauce, because the national media is going to, sell you wolf tickets and fill you with bullshit. But I feel like Houston gets disrespected when it comes to other sports. And I know, now let me see, it's for you, other than basketball, you ride with Houston in the other sports, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And even then, like I say, outside of that, like I said, across the board, like I don't know how it works with the Dynamo necessarily. And I know you mentioned people kind of want to put asterisks on them because they came from, was it Seattle you said they came from?
San Jose,
okay. And they came and they ended up winning. And then then people were mad because they ended up winning as soon as they became the Dynamo. So, like, is there a bias in the MLS world towards Houston, or is it kind of is the league not viewed as being big enough? I mean, is there any kind of
as far as the MLS community, I don't think there's any like. Honestly, a lot of people kind of just like the Dynamo for their color scheme. A lot of people do like the Dynamo jerseys and all of that. But I mean, it's kind of one of those things where it's just kind of a shame for the Dynamo because a lot of people just like feel kind of embarrassed for them. And the reason why is because you have this really nice. I mean, BVA Stadium. You look at it; it's a beautiful stadium. I can't deny it. I think that it's definitely up there as far as appearance wise when it comes to the MLS. And I might even throw that as general stadium as well. And you can't fill it up unless there's a Mexican team playing in there. But it's just it's kind of they see the highlights of and there's games where Dynamo play really solid, but there's hardly anybody in the game. So it's kind of like I think the worst thing to as far as as a Dynamo fan to experience as embarrassing as it was to be at the U.S. Open Cup final. It's a final. It's a championship game, and the Dynamo win it. They win it very soundly against Philadelphia. They win their first ever U.S. Open Cup, and there's hardly anybody in the stadium. And this was like broadcast on ESPN, and so ESPN too. But I mean, still, it was on ESPN.
The Ocho.
And so it was still, it was like it's a big game, but they just couldn't get people to come. And I mean, that's also another issue of its own because obviously it was in the middle of the week, so I could see that. But it's like it's a final, man. Like I feel like you can sit here and say like for Astros fans, if it's like just a regular playoff game, like an ALDS game, like that's at 2 in the afternoon, they're gonna show up.
Yeah.
I don't know if I would really say that for the Rockets because I think the Rockets. If it's not like a team worthy to go watch, because I think the NBA, as far as it's more so who you're playing against.
Yeah. And
so like sometimes you're like, oh, who's playing the Utah Jazz? I'll watch the next round.
Yeah. Is
more of the vibe I get from the NBA. But then also the Texans, they go into the wild card game and people fill up the stadium. So it's just, but we're not even talking about we're just talking about a regular playoff game. We're talking about a final. That's someone's lifting a trophy at the end of the game, and we hardly had people there. So it's more so just like people just feel kind of embarrassed for the fans.
Okay, that's unfortunate. So Philly you said it was against Philadelphia, and was Philly represented well?
No, not at all.
Well, that's bad. That's bad for both sides. Goddamn. Okay, so that's curious. It's curious to know. And I know, again. Like some of the hate, I think is going to be. We've talked about the Harden bias being just ridiculous, and again, I know we don't talk Texans. I know at the beginning of the stream I said I'm not going to talk Texans or anything like that, but I got to make a point to go with my point. Is it just me, or as soon as Hopkins left the Texans, you start seeing more Hopkins media highlights on places. He again, trading a guy like that is news. But then you start hearing like so much more talk about him. What he's done, like he's going over. He's done, and it's just like, why now? You're going to Arizona. What has Arizona really done? You know what I mean?
Arizona's embracing him. That's what they're doing. I mean, he did the thing with the whole putting your doctor's name on a jersey. Thing for representing the Cardinals. So I mean, and it's crazy to me because like obviously DeAndre Hopkins is someone that embraced Houston. Obviously, he threw a first pitch in the World Series for the Astros. He did the first shot for the Rockets, and then he actually loves going to Dynamo games. There's actually a lot of Texans players that go to BVA Stadium to watch Dynamo and Dash. Obviously, Brian Cushing used to go to the Dash games to support his sister-in-law, Khalil Ohai, who's J.J. Watt's wife. But now, obviously, that's probably not happening anymore. But, I mean, Whitney Merciless is a big soccer guy. So, I mean, obviously, at one point, Nene was constantly at BVA as well. Because he's Brazilian, so he loves soccer. And then I think, obviously, with James being an owner of the Houston Dynamo, you'll probably see him there more frequently when he can.
Yeah. Okay. Well, yes, they've gone to a Super Bowl football if I was there. You're absolutely right. That's a long time ago, goddamn. They ain't been back. Shit. Fuck them. And you said that the ESPN 2019-2020 season players ranked Giannis number 1, Harden number 2, Luka number 3. So that's why they put Giannis over Harden as a player all time. And I could see that, but even if you're going to go by that, like it should be 27 then 28. There's not that much space. There's not any space between Giannis being better than Harden. There's plenty of space, in my opinion, of Harden over Giannis. You can say, oh, he's been in the league longer and all these other things. That's fine, whatever you want to call it. He's done it in a tougher conference. He's done it much more consistently. And then part of the thing with Giannis is this, right? Giannis didn't just really start looking like that dude until LeBron left. LeBron leaves and you still don't come out of the East? How does that work? Like, how does that work? But it's an issue when you have the Rockets losing to what many people, again, consider to be one of the greatest teams to ever join up in the NBA. And that was the only team that they were losing to. Everybody else, they were kind of giving a bit. Now, the way they lost was questionable. And I'm not saying some of the embarrassment. We talk about some of the other things going on. But it's just like, we give this dude Giannis a pass. What has he done? What has he done? Like, that is so commendable. Dunk? Slam a basketball through a hoop? That's it? Like,
cry after getting eliminated in the playoffs?
Yeah, and again, like, just again, overrated. But again,
what? That's probably what. He cried when he got eliminated in the playoffs, and they're like, oh, that just shows he cares. He's passionate.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, James, I don't really know how James reacts when he gets eliminated, to be honest, because I'm sure he just has that stale face that he normally has. But
yeah, I mean, but sometimes and here's the thing, and I understand this, and I truly do understand it. As a player, it's entirely different than being a fan because you're the one on there putting in work. You're the one that goes through all the stuff. The fans, we want the players to be mad. We want to be upset. We want to be like Justin Reed tweeted out earlier this week. But sometimes these guys, for the best of themselves, it's like, hey, I just took an L. Got to move past it. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just one of those things that happens. Now it can be fuel to, again, it depends on when and, what else was going on. But if it's a regular season game, yeah, you just really got to move past that shit as soon as it's over with. But like I said, if you're talking about a game where you're an elimination game, you gave it your all. I mean, the chips fall where they may. You kind of got to get past it. But like I said, we as fans are not going to let it go. So because we want to have control. We want to be able to impact things in a way. And I think the way we impact is cheering, money, yelling, bitching, all that other good stuff, whatever it is, support. And so, we want things to go one way, but I don't think it will. So I wouldn't be surprised if James is like, well, we've seen it, James turning up after a loss. But that may be his way to get over it. Like, fuck it, Maybe he deals with the pain of taking an L a different way. But
hey, man, bringing Barbie at Onyx needs help too. So
yeah, some stripper out there.
Good old Cristal.
Man, see what the strippers need to do. This is what the strippers need to do, right? The strippers need to boycott James Harden, right? And listen to him, hear me out. This is what I say. Like, James Harden strip up, the strippers of Houston at least need to boycott James Harden. Harden in the club. We know y'all want the money. But you got to think about long-term investments, all right? And they're not thinking about long-term investments. And what I'm saying is, ban James Harden. Don't show him no love. He's going to get angry. He's going to have a bunch of pent-up rage because he ain't got ass cheeks clapping in his face. He ain't making it rain or whatever else is going on that he does in strip clubs that he apparently loves so much. Just ban him for a season, just during the season. And then I'm telling you, he's going to play angry. He's going to have that killer instinct that he needs. He's going to win a championship. And this is where the strippers win. Because if James Harden wins a championship, he's most definitely going to fucking make it rain in the strip club. And he's probably going to blow more money that night than he would have all year. You just be ready to put your best performance on.
He'd be the one that buy the most ridiculous expensive bottle at the bar.
It would be the craziest shit that you ever saw. I think if James Harden won a fucking shit, it'd be the craziest shit you ever seen in a strip club. It would be it would be a ridiculous band. So that's just my personal thoughts on what they should do to help assist the city. And they'll, like I say, just.
I was about to say. I thought you were gonna say they need to pull a Ja Rule from the Fast and Furious.
What was that? I don't even remember what happened with the.
like some girl comes up to Ja Rule and is like, "Win or lose, you're gonna get me. But if you win," she points at her friend like, "You're gonna get." He loses and he doesn't get any of them. But I mean,
well, shit, James Harden can just buy some of them bitches. Like, what? And get you? I'll just buy your friend. And I'm not insinuating that James Harden buys hoes. I'm just saying he could. If he wanted to, y'all. So don't. Honcho said he's on Saucy Sports TV saying that James Harden out there buying hoes. He's tricking off on them hoes, man. He said James Harden was tricking. It's gonna be the headline. James Harden's a trick, says Honcho. I didn't say any of that. All right, I'm just saying that if he wanted to, he could possibly buy some women of low morale. That's all I'm saying. But I don't know, man. Like I said, I don't know with all the stuff that's going on, how it pans out. I saw somebody, and here's a secret, y'all. Y'all are going to probably be like, what? Some of y'all probably wouldn't be surprised. I did not watch The Last Dance, okay? Did not watch The Last Dance. Not a second of The Last Dance, Only thing
it's still going.
Yeah,
it's still going.
It's still, how fucking long is this shit? I thought it was over with.
It's 10 episodes long.
Oh, fuck that. I ain't got
they just did 7 and 8, so this coming weekend will be the final 2 episodes. I don't know why they say it's episode 7 and 8. Why it's basically a 2-hour episode. I don't know why it's literally 5 2-hour episodes. I don't know why they're making it seem like it's 10 separate episodes.
Yeah. Of course they're gonna hold the Rock. Like, the Rock's not gonna get no love. You know what I'm saying? And
he talks shit about Clyde.
No shit.
On it, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, essentially, The Last Dance is pretty much just Michael Jordan just talking trash. Like, he talks about how he doesn't like Isaiah Thomas.
Yeah.
It's just the fact that they hated Jerry Cross like with passion.
Yeah.
I mean, you know what? My big takeaway from so far watching The Last Dance is Carmen Electra still has it.
What? I guess I have to check it out. Carmen Electra was a thing back in the day, man. Like, Carmen Electra,
and she still has it.
Electra. That was didn't Rodman used to fuck with Electra?
Yeah, they had an episode that was like dedicated to Dennis Rodman, and so they had actually Carmen Electra, like they interviewed her during it. But I was like, still got it. Good for her.
Here's my thing. Rodman was like the Prince of basketball. I don't want to say that because Prince was like legendary in the music industry, and he was weird. Rodman, if we were saying stylistically, could be the Prince of basketball. He was the Prince of basketball rebounds. We'll call him that. And
I mean, that guy had games where he had no points, but he had like 20 plus rebounds.
Yeah, like that's a guy you want on the fucking team. Like the guy who don't care about shooting the ball. He's not gonna bitch because he didn't get the shot. He's not gonna holler, man, I was open. Like, he has a job, and that's what he wants to do. And here's my thing. Here's my thing about Jordan. I'm not going to take away that Jordan was a great defender. He was a great player. But when Jordan finally started winning it, there was a lot of responsibilities he didn't necessarily have to worry about.
The other thing that I would throw out there, because, I mean, they pretty much villainized Jerry Cross, and I think they have every right to villainize Jerry Cross in some extent. But, I mean, the man did build the Chicago Bulls. Like he technically they didn't draft Pippen. Yeah. They actually traded for Pippen. So he got Pippen, and then obviously brought in Rodman because they just needed that goon up in up front. And I mean he did things. Like, I mean, you can't take that away from him. And I mean, I can see why he was trying to get rid of Scottie Pippen as well, because, I mean, obviously Scottie Pippen's getting up there in age. Yeah. It's his own fault that he signed that very terrible contract. I mean, I think everybody saw that was a bad idea to sign that long of a contract for so very little amount. Yeah. So I think, but I understood why you would trade Scottie Pippen, and I mean, yeah, I get it that these guys are winning you games. At least in that perspective, but at the same time, you're like, dude's getting old.
Yeah, yeah. Man, yeah, I remember barely Rockets with Pippen. That's not something we're going to talk about. But yeah, that's the thing, man. It's crazy, I guess, to kind of see how things really went down way back when. Because we as fans, we paint our own pictures from what we see and what we would imagine, or we put ourselves in their shoes. But Motherfuckers say, "How man, we close like Jordan and Pippen," and apparently maybe they weren't as buddy as you would think. Because I'm really trying to think about it. I haven't really seen fucking Jordan and Pippen since the Bulls days. Fucking Jordan's super filthy rich, and Pippen is probably getting done very badly for alimony after his wife cheated on him with Future. So, there's that. I mean, Pippen's not necessarily winning, and fuck Pippen because he be hating on the Rockets too. So it's a fucked up situation, but I don't know. These guys, and that's why I get upset about chemistry and things. Like when you have players who actually want to play with each other, and then you break shit like that up, it's unfortunate. But yeah, Pippen did a lot for Jordan, and that's what people don't realize. People don't realize how good Pippen was, man. Pippen was solid in his own right, even when Jordan was out. But they still won 50-something games. Like they weren't just trash without Jordan. And so when you have a team around you like that, and you're already as good as you are, it's not to take away anything from Jordan. Because then again, y'all, like I say, y'all be spreading rumors. That nigga Honcho said Jordan sucks. He wasn't shit without Pippen. That it just like it makes your job that much easier. So I think you have to commend the Bulls as a whole, for who they are. I mean, give Jordan his credit. He's the greatest, depending on who you ask. But I think basketball is one of those games where you gotta really pay attention to the team effort, but we really individualize a lot of it.
I think basketball is it's one of those unique sports where I think with football, obviously you do want depth, but majority of the time, you have your set starters, Whereas in basketball, you got to know when to rotate your guys in and out, give them their breaks and all that. So I think basketball is definitely, as far as is very team oriented. The guy that backup is just as important as the guy that's in the starting five. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. And you really got to be able to have guys who can fill those roles. He said he was calling niggas hoes. Really, DeMarcus? I believe it. I don't know, man. Look, I'm telling you, after I heard the Chameleonaire story years back, I'm going to be honest with y'all. Years back, once I heard that Chameleonaire story, I don't think I bought a pair of Jordans since. I don't think I have not been favorable of Jordan since, because I'm why would Chameleon lie about that? That's definitely a true fucking story. And ever since then, man, I don't know. I don't look at Jordan the same, man. So it's like, because you cherish him as this icon, like he's that dude or he's the greatest, and hey, be like Mike and all that other weird shit and Space Jam.
Mike had a very, very horrible gambling problem. And they actually addressed it in the documentary as well. The guy had a gambling problem, but he worded it in a way that I found hilarious. It was, he doesn't have a gambling problem. He has a competition problem.
Yeah, that's crazy.
But I feel like in the whole watching The Last Dance, I think they at least go above and beyond to make sure they have at least 5 clips per episode of Michael Jordan gambling something, whether he's playing cards or he's trying to throw a quarter into a wall. He's making bets playing golf.
Yeah. That's crazy. He said he actually wants to sign with Adidas. Oh, I bet Adidas is fucking.
Adidas. Yeah, that was hilarious. They mentioned that he wanted to work for Adidas, but he did not like Nike at all.
That's.
But Mama Jordan got on him.
A word? Oh, shit.
Yeah.
You better be thanking Mama Jordan then. Wearing fucking 3 stripes and niggas be over there breakdancing in his shoes and shit. Well, that's cool. I don't know, man. I when they made one about Akeem, then I'll watch it. I care more about that one. But like I say, we getting around to that time, man. So we're gonna get ready to wind out here shortly. But we are working, like I said, to get more regular on the Sauce Sports Time. So do expect some Sauce Sports TV at 6 p.m. on Thursday. And again, Sauce on Sauce Sports the rest of the week at 6. Is there anything on your mind, Mr. Checker? Anything that we may have not had a chance to touch on, speak on, or that you want to say to the people?
Man, shout out to all 10 of y'all.
Top
10. Hey, I know that this channel is I guess still fairly young compared to obviously Sauce Sports, but we're trying to get this growing, but just as much as we're gonna try to push more to put more content. Trust me, there's plenty more videos coming. There, but there's videos on the way. But also, if you guys know people that do love the Astros, the Rockets, the Dynamo, bring them here, man. Like, show them. It's crazy to me that we have like over 6,000 people on Sauce Sports. And I mean, it should be just a very simple transition over here, but I mean, if not, that make sure you guys share it to people. Make sure you guys know that we're doing this stuff out here too.
Absolutely, man. Yeah, Sauce Sports TV is growing. Like I said, I think like once the consistency gets back on point, I think that people will be rocking with it, and it'll be a great situation. So here's my thing. I want to say shout out to all of y'all who did come through. Y'all definitely be holding down the Sauce to from the Sauce Sports TV to the Sauce streams. Those of you, some of you are in the Discord, definitely appreciate y'all. And our Patreon supporters, and again, members on everything. So that is greatly appreciated, man. And just again, you can do a lot of stuff, but the fact that y'all rocking with us, man, is more than enough to be thankful for. So here's my deal. Y'all are the freshest motherfucking ingredients. If you haven't hit that like button, hit the like button, please. Look forward to, like I said, we'll definitely be live streaming on Thursday. And there is something I completely forgot to talk about today. So I'm going to drop a video. And I cannot believe I didn't. It's right here on the phone, and I completely overlooked it. Actually, one of the most important things I want to talk about. But we'll talk about it on Thursday. If not, expect a video sometime soon about it. But with that being said, hey, man, look, Jack, y'all are the freshest motherfucking ingredients in the world. I appreciate y'all, man. Y'all stay saucy. And with that being said, Mr. Hector, I appreciate you holding it down. And we are out.
Perfect.
Look at this. I got the damn fucking Texas thing back here. This is terrible. I didn't even change the dilly dally. This is awful. So this is what I'm telling y'all. I got just really make a whole profile for everything, so that way I can just boop boop boop. I ain't gotta keep tripping with the shit. But I'm going, y'all.
So I mean, obviously, I don't really know if like 10 year